Good morning, friends. Welcome back. We are doing lesson 8 for Wit and Wisdom, so let's get started. Let me get rid of everything that's floating around here. Let me move myself down.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Wit and Wisdom in Sync. My name is Tanisha Spears, and I'm excited to jump into our lesson for today. But before we do, let's make sure you have your materials ready. For this lesson, you will need handout 8A, which is the Focusing Question Task 1 Evidence Organizer.
Got it.
You'll need your Wit and Wisdom in Sync journal and a pencil. We will also be using Assessment 8A, Focusing Question Task 1, but I'll show that to you on the screen. Pause the video now if you need to gather your materials. In previous work, you had an opportunity to make observations about a new Cinderella text, and you thought about how the structure of an opinion statement works. Today, you will take a closer look at characters and character traits. Okay, let's go back to some artwork that we have previously looked at. Remember, we have been working with two different versions of first steps, and that this is the drawing by Millet. I want you to think, what colors does Millet use in this drawing? Think, share with a learning partner, or just share aloud.
He uses a lot of darker colors, greens or browns, a little bit of blue, maybe some beige.
I'm sure you said it. Millet uses only a few colors. He uses the colors blue, green, and white. What I'd like you to do is point to one area in the drawing that has a lot of color. Are you pointing? You notice how most of the color is in the trees and the people.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like you to do now is point to an area that has very little color. I'm sure you noticed this. There is a lot of space with no color, so you can see the paper underneath. Now, let's think about this. How can Van Gogh use color in this image? Think. Share what you notice with a learning partner.
I notice he uses more blues and greens, but he covers the whole page also.
Now, you may have noticed that Van Gogh uses a lot of blue, green, and white, and that most of the background is white, yellow, and green. And the people's blue clothing stands out against the background. Another thing is Van Gogh covers the entire painting with color, so we can't see what's underneath. Now, let's compare the use of colors in these two works of art. What similarities and differences do you see? You see some similar colors like blue, green, and white.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you thought about how Van Gogh's painting includes brighter colors than the drawing. Now, let's think about how Millet and Van Gogh use color to show what's important in the image. I would like you to point to a part of each image that you think is important. Did you point to the people?
Mm-hmm.
You may have noticed that both Van Gogh and Millet use blue on the people. That makes the people stand out. Both artists use blue in the people's clothing. So we've noticed that both artists use color to draw attention to the family in the artwork. So I wonder if these pieces of art are telling me that family is important. All right, so now that you had a chance to revisit the artwork, let's take a look at the question that is framing our work for today. And that question is, what does looking at characters reveal to us? So today you'll be looking more closely at the character Cendrillon. Now, in order to do that, you are going to look more closely at Cendrillon's actions and make an inference or guess about her character. Listen carefully as I read a passage from the text. When she was older, Cendrillon would come to the river each morning to do the family's laundry. Nothing was easy for her at home. All day she worked. Now, I want you to take a moment and quickly act out what Cendrillon is doing. Ready? Act it out. I wish I could have seen you. Did you act out how Cendrillon is working all day? She's doing the laundry and other chores for her family. On page 11, the text tells us that Cendrillon works very hard for her family. And from these actions, what can you infer or guess about Cendrillon's traits? In other words, what is Cendrillon like?
She's a hard worker.
Share with your learning partner or just share aloud.
She's a hard worker, isn't she? She's a lot like Cinderella, don't you think?
These actions show that Cendrillon is very hardworking, and we can infer from Cendrillon's actions that she is hardworking. Okay, let's look closely at another of Cendrillon's actions and make an inference about her character. Listen as I read a passage from the text where Nanine is talking to Cendrillon after the fete. Alas, Nanine said, my plans have come to nothing. I cannot give you the gift of a love that would change your life for true. Dear godmother, Cendrillon said, kissing my cheek, you gave me this night. It is enough. Now what I'd like you to do is explain to a learning partner what Cendrillon is doing and saying in this part of the text. Did you explain that Cendrillon is thanking Nanine for sending her to the fete, even though things did not turn out the way they had hoped? Now on page 32, Cendrillon thanks Nanine for sending her to the fete. From these actions, what can you infer or guess about Cendrillon's traits? In other words, what is Cendrillon like? Think. Now share with a learning partner or just share aloud.
She's very thankful, isn't she? She was thankful that she got to go to the ball.
I wonder, did you share how these actions show that Cendrillon is thankful? She is grateful that she was able to go to the fete, even if it did not turn out to be all that she had hoped for. So we can infer from Cendrillon's words and actions that she is thankful. Okay, we're going to look closely at one more of Cendrillon's actions and make an inference about her character. Remember, at the end of the story, Paul finds Cendrillon in an old cotton dress. I want you to listen carefully as I read what Cendrillon said when Nanine tapped Cendrillon with her wand and made her appear as she did that night at the ball. Listen carefully. No, godmother dear, Cendrillon said. No more spells. With a sigh, Nanine touched her again, and she was, as before, in her shift and shawl. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to act out what Cendrillon is doing and saying in this part of the text. Are you ready? Act it out. Okay, so on page 36, the text tells us that Cendrillon does not want to use magic to look rich or more beautiful. She wants Paul to see her in her regular clothes. So from these actions, what can you infer about Cendrillon's traits? In other words, what is Cendrillon like? Think. Now, share with your learning partner or just share aloud.
She's very honest because she wants him to see her for who she really is.
I wish I could have heard what you shared. But I bet you probably said that these actions show that Cendrillon is honest. She does not want to seem like a rich girl in a fancy dress when she is not one. So we can infer from Cendrillon's words and actions that she is honest. Okay, let's review the traits we inferred about Cendrillon. We know that she works hard for her family, which shows that Cendrillon is hardworking. Cendrillon is grateful to have gone to the fete, which shows that Cendrillon is thankful. Cendrillon wants Paul to see her in her regular clothes, which shows that she is honest. If you need to, pause the video to take a moment to stretch or take a quick break. When you're done, unpause the video. All right, we just discussed Cendrillon's character traits. Now we are going to return to the book Cinderella, adapted by Marcia Brown. The cover looks like what you see on the screen. And since we spent more time reading Cinderella and discussing Cinderella, we're going to be writing about that book. You will use what you have learned to write an opinion paragraph on Cinderella's character. Take a look at assessment 8A, focusing question task 1. It looks like what you see on the screen. Listen as I read the prompt. Task: what do you most admire about Cinderella? First, read the evidence on the Cinderella traits chart. Next, choose a trait you most admire about Cinderella. Then, write an opinion paragraph explaining what you most admire about Cinderella. Support your response using evidence from the following text. Cinderella, adapted by Marcia Brown. Checklist for success. Be sure to include all of the following in your response. All parts of an opinion paragraph. Now I want you to look at the focusing question that you are going to be answering in your opinion statement. I'm going to read it again. What do you most admire about Cinderella? So today you are going to get ready to write a paragraph on what you most admire about Cinderella. You're going to your paragraph by deciding what information you want to include. You will also practice sharing what you want to write with your learning partner. Now, to get ready to do that, let's review the Cinderella traits chart. In a previous lesson, you used Cinderella's actions to figure out what Cinderella is like. Today, you are going to begin by choosing the trait you most admire from the right-hand column. What I'd like you to do is read the traits along with me. Hardworking, kind, forgiving. What I'd like you to do is point to the trait that you most admire on the screen. Did you point? Okay, you are going to add the notes about the trait that you most admire about Cinderella to an evidence organizer for focusing question task 1. What I'd like you to do is take out handout 8A. It is the focusing question task 1 evidence organizer. You are going to plan your opinion paragraphs using this evidence organizer. Let's review the organizer. You will see the O for the opinion statement. The RE is where you list your reasons. And then the O is where you list your opinion conclusion. Okay, what I'd like you to do is write the trait that you chose in the first opinion box of the evidence organizer. Did you write it? All right, remember, Cinderella's actions provide the evidence that you will use for your reason. In your reason sentence, you will explain an action that shows the trait that you admire. For example, if you admire Cinderella because she is hardworking, your reason could be she cleans the house. If you admire Cinderella because she is kind, your reason could be she helps her sisters get dressed for the ball. And if you admire Cinderella because she is forgiving, your reason could be she forgives her sisters. What I'd like you to do is point to the action that goes with the character trait you chose. Are you pointing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you are going to write the appropriate action in the reason box in the middle of the evidence organizer. I want to encourage you to write a word, a phrase, or an illustration that can help you capture Cinderella's action. Did you write your reason? Okay. Now you are going to use your evidence organizer to orally rehearse what you will write. I've given you some sentence frames to help you. I want you to point to each part of the cookie sandwich on the screen as I read the sentence frame. Listen carefully. I admire Cinderella because she is. She. That is why she is. What I'd like you to do now is pause the video and share what you are going to write with your learning partner, or just share aloud.
Friends, you should have got your information from that trait chart about Cinderella. Okay. You should be able to speak with your friend beside you and tell what your story is about. So I admire Cinderella because she is what? You put the trait there, and then the reason goes right there in the middle, because she what? And then you're going to restate your opinion topic at the bottom. All right? Okay.
Did you we're going to write with your learning partner? If you didn't, I encourage you to go back and do so, because you are just going to practicing your paragraph today, but in the next lesson, you will write your paragraph. All right, awesome first graders. Did you rehearse what you're going to write? If you didn't, I encourage you to go back and do so. We will continue with our Cinderella text in our next lesson, and we'll be thinking about similarities and differences. Until then, be kind and do something great, because you are capable of greatness.
Okay, friends, let me get out of this. All right, so you are writing about what you most admire about Cinderella. Think about that trait chart, okay? You can look back into the video if you need to write. All right. Now, before we close out this lesson, I want us to practice our fluency homework. So let me get us moving over here. Well, I cannot get my screen to move here. There we go. All right, narrator. Cinderella is helping the stepsisters get ready for the ball. Stepsister, Cinderella, now wouldn't you just like to go to the ball? Oh, you're making fun of me. A ball is not for such as I. Stepsister 2, you are right, Cinderseat, at a ball. How people would laugh. Both stepsisters laugh. Okay, let's go down to the next one. This is another one, part B. Cinderella arrives home from the first ball. Her two stepsisters knock on the door. Cinderella runs to let them in. How lucky you are, stepsister 1. If you had come to the ball, you would have been bored. I can tell you, a most beautiful princess came. What was the name of the princess? No one knows. The king's son would give anything to know who she is. She was then so beautiful. Mademoiselle Javette, lend me your yellow outfit that you wear every day. Really? I like that. Lend my clothes to a filthy Cinderseat like you? Okay. All right, guys. So remember to practice your fluency, okay? And today, remember, you are just planning that writing, so there is nothing to turn in today, okay? You still have to turn in your assignment like you've done it, but there is no paperwork to turn in. All right. We'll see you back here tomorrow where we will write our story. Bye, friends.